Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 26.4 released to the public a few days ago, but there's even more to talk about since the iOS 26.4 is out. What's new video. We'll talk about the latest Apple news, some new features, and the overall experience on both new and old devices as well. But not just my experience, your experience as well, based off the YouTube community poll, where at the time of this video there's over 16,000 votes and 266 comments. I've gone over all the comments to see what the update is like for most of us, so be sure to stick around toward the end of the video where I'll read some of your comments as well. And if you want to jump to any specific part of the video, be sure to check out the chapters in the description below. And it's true, iOS 26.4 is much better, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, Apple discontinued the Mac Pro on Thursday. The Mac Pro is no longer available on Apple's website, and it's not for sale at all. If we go to Apple's website, and you'll see on Apple's website, of course, we have the new MacBook Neo, the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, as well as Mac Studio and Studio Display XDR, but no longer a Pro Display XDR and no longer a Mac Pro, whether that's the freestanding one, the Mac Wheels, or anything like that. It's all gone in favor of Studio. So maybe Studio is replacing Mac Pro, or the Pro name. We'll have to wait and see in the future. However, according to 9to5Mac, they were actually told that Apple has no future plans to offer Mac Pro hardware, so it looks like it's gone for good now. Now, there are rumored versions of higher-end MacBooks coming later this year, and maybe that will be called MacBook Studio as well if it's a higher-end lineup. Some people have said MacBook Ultra, but maybe they're just pushing everything to the Studio name. We also finally got the WWDC 26 announcement. This is the Worldwide Developer Conference. You can see it on Apple's website, and I talked about it in a separate video, but it takes place on June 8th through the 12th, and typically on the first day we'll have a keynote going over all the new operating systems. So we should see iOS 27 as well as macOS 27 and other updates as well, and maybe some new hardware for the first time also. But again, we'll have to wait and see once that time comes around. But again, if you want more information about that, I have a separate video about it. Apple has begun notifying 2026 Swift Student Challenge winners as well. The contestants that applied to win are now being notified, and those that do win get a chance to go to Apple Park for WWDC as well. So let me know if you've won, if you've received anything from Apple about this, but you can read more about it here, and I'll link this in the description below if you'd like to check it out as well, where it says applicants can now check their status. Apple has started sending critical alerts to older devices on iOS 17 and older to notify them to update to the latest supported version due to security issues. You can see it here on this iPhone XS Max, where it says critical software update needed. Apple is aware of attacks targeting out-of-date iOS software, including the version on your iPhone. Install this critical update to protect your iPhone. You can see details about it, and you'll see you can bump this one up to iOS 18.7.7, but I like to have a few devices around with older versions so we can look back at them, as this has iOS 15 on it. As you can see here, it's a little bit older, looks different, everything's a little bit more squared off. However, if I was using this as my main device, I would definitely update it just to have those security updates, as those are pretty critical. iPhone Air is not the most popular phone, but according to data based on the Ookla speed test website, the iPhone Air is more than twice as popular as the iPhone Plus models it replaced. That's based on the previous 2 years, where it's at about 6.8% adoption, and that's compared to 2.9% of the iPhone 16 Plus. So it seems to be more popular, especially overseas, not so much in the United States, but in parts of Asia. Apple is going to start showing ads in Apple Maps this summer. It was rumored, and it seems it's true according to a post on their Apple Newsroom website. If we scroll down here, they explain how that works. It's similar to the App Store, but you'll see here where maybe you're searching for something nearby, such as a restaurant. Those who purchased ads can actually have them placed as top results with suggested places. So that's something that we already see in the App Store, but we'll start to see it in Apple Maps soon as well. So that's a bit unfortunate, but again, this is only specific to different things you might be searching for that are nearby. With iOS 26.4, with Apple CarPlay, I wanted to mention a couple things here. For example, there's now support for using different chatbots, so maybe Gemini or ChatGPT can now work in here as long as it's enabled by those app developers. So they'll need to enable it, but it should function here. So far, I'm not seeing the ability to actually CarPlay or use AirPlay to play any videos or anything like that on the display. Again, hopefully they'll enable this soon and we'll be able to do that. In addition to this, some people have been saying that the ambient music widget is available on the widget page. So if we slide over, I'm not seeing it at all. I do have the music widget, but not the ambient music widget. So I can slide through here and you'll see a couple things, which this is an odd one here, just with an odd wallpaper. But again, if we slide through, I'm not seeing that specific widget. So that's something I don't see at all, but some people have actually mentioned that it's there. So if we go back home and then maybe we swipe here, you'll see the different options. So again, I'm not seeing that specific widget, but let me see if you've seen it. In addition to that, there was an update with macOS Tahoe where they've actually added the slow charging feature. So if we scroll down here on their website where they show this off, you'll see that they now have the slow charger option if you're using a slow charger with your MacBook. So that can show up now if you're actually using maybe the wrong charger or just one that's unusually slow. Now in this update, iOS 26.4 has a bunch of security updates. When it released to the public, Apple published it an hour or two later, and you can see if we scroll down, there's going to be quite a few different security updates. And you'll see if we continue to scroll, there's many different updates here. So this is something that definitely makes it worth installing, but we have updates for everything from iCloud. If we keep going to the kernel, the underlying code for the OS itself, and then Siri, technology, WebKit, and more. So lots of different things that they've patched, along with the impact, what they did to fix it, and the person that submitted the issue as well. So lots of different fixes here with iOS 26.4. As far as app updates this week, well, Apple once again updated Apple Sports to version 3.9, and it says now MLB fans can see the probable starting pitcher for each game in advance. Also, car numbers have been added to NASCAR leaderboards, making it even easier to keep up with your favorite driver during races. So that's been updated if you have it available in your country. Something else that's been updated that isn't necessarily with iPhone, but more with Samsung, is AirDrop will now work on S26 devices. For example, I have one here. So this is the S26 Ultra. And if I want to send maybe a wallpaper or something else, we can do that just like we can on Pixel devices. So you'll see we have Quick Share. If we go into Quick Share, so we have Quick Share. And if maybe we go into Photos and try and share this via AirDrop, you'll see that it will show up for Samsung. So we have Galaxy S26 Ultra. We can send this wallpaper, tap accept, and it will AirDrop it to this device. So we're seeing this more and more across different Android devices as well, making AirDrop more universal. So this is something that's great to see, and hopefully we'll see this across all devices as it's very convenient to just sort of AirDrop things back and forth. So it's taking just a moment to send, and we're almost done, and we should have the wallpaper. So there we have it. You can now use AirDrop on the S26 Ultra with an Apple device as well. Now, as far as weekly iOS tips, one thing I wanted to share has to do with screenshots. Many people didn't know that you can change between different modes here. So if we go into screenshots, you'll see that we have this view and it sort of automatically shrinks down, but then we have different options around it. If we want to change it when we take a screenshot, we can go into our settings. This time we'll go back to General, and then we go down to Screen Capture, and you have a couple different options here. For full screen previews, automatic visual lookup, CarPlay screenshots, so if you want to screenshot that as well as HDR or SDR. If we go into full screen previews, now we take a screenshot, it will then bring us into what it did before when I tapped on it. So if you want it to go into this every time so you can edit it, you can then turn that on or off. So many people weren't aware of that, or maybe you don't like that view. Of course, you can just change it back and forth. So again, if I take a screenshot, now it just shrinks over like it used to, and then we tap in it if we want to edit this. We've all been waiting to see what Apple has planned for the next version of Siri. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has been out over 6 months. The iPhone 16 Pro Max was supposed to get an updated version of Siri with context. But now, according to Mark Gurman at Bloomberg, Apple will make this a separate app, it seems, sort of like a chatbot app, and then also allow others to integrate into Siri like ChatGPT currently does. So we'll have to wait and see what that's like. Of course, currently you can use ChatGPT built right into Siri, but maybe we'll see more of that with Claude, with Anthropic, as well as maybe ChatGPT and others. So we'll have to wait and see what that has. Maybe it will be an iOS 26.5 or a future release. Now, speaking of releases, Apple updated AirPods this week to version 8B39. If we open up the AirPods Pro 3 here, it's for AirPods Pro 2, AirPods Pro 3, as well as AirPods 4. Of course, I would expect this to be available on AirPods Max 2 as well. But if we go into our settings, go to our AirPods, scroll to the bottom, you'll see the latest version is 8B39. If we go in here, the case version should match as well, although that takes a little bit longer to update. As far as what Apple has fixed specifically, they haven't said. So if we go to their About Firmware Updates for AirPods website, you'll see the latest version 8B39, and if we scroll down here, you can see what's new, and it says bug fixes and other improvements. I would love to see more information here like they did with iOS 26.4's release. They gave lots of great information. I would love to see similar information here. Apple also this week released a new Safari technology preview, and if we go to download, you can see the latest version here is version 240. It was released on March 26th and is available for macOS Tahoe and macOS Sequoia if you want to test out the latest features and changes. So that's available now. Now, as far as future updates, iOS 26.5 Beta 1 could be as soon as next week. We could see it as soon as Monday or Tuesday, and maybe we'll see Siri 2.0, but Apple may be saving that for iOS 27. So iOS 26.5, we don't really know exactly what will be in it, but we'll have to wait and see. And then, of course, on June 8th, now that we have a date for WWDC, we should see iOS 27 for the first time. We'll see Beta 1 after that. Betas all throughout the summer, typically the public beta around the first week of July or so, and then of course a public release typically in September around the iPhone 18 Pro launch. So that's what we're expecting as far as that. We're not seeing a ton of features so far, so maybe it'll be a bit of a surprise and truly be that stability update we've been wanting for years. When it comes to the overall experience, well, now that we have the update of AirPods Pro 3, the overall experience for these seem to be pretty good. I really haven't had any disconnects. It's been decent overall. Nothing really to complain about here. They've just been working as expected. Now, we don't have a whole lot of people on iOS 18.7.7. Typically, you need an older device for that. So you would need an iPhone XS, XS Max, or XR, and then you can use it. Other than that, though, there's no way to downgrade from newer devices, so there's very few people using this version, but it has critical security updates just like iOS 26.4. But so far, there's no complaints about it. But I wanted to talk in depth this time about iOS 26.4. So with iOS 26.4, its overall experience with bugs and bug fixes, it's true it seems that Apple is back, and the overall sentiment is that iOS 26.4 is the best version of iOS 26 yet. Based on comments on the YouTube community poll, what I could find online with Reddit and different forums, it seems that 55% say that iOS 26.4 is better than previous versions, where 80% say it's good or better. Those who are negative about it typically are those who haven't updated to it. So there are people having poor experiences, but it seems like it's taking longer to index. Most people are saying it's much, much better as far as smoothness, the overall stability, but battery seems to be the #1 complaint. Now the keyboard is finally fixed, so as far as things that they've fixed, the keyboard is much better. So within Notes, this is iOS 26.4 on iPhone 17 Pro Max, and you can see that it keeps up well. It doesn't seem to mistype, and those that are having mistypes, it's hard to judge whether or not it's an issue with the keyboard, sometimes just hitting the wrong key, or if it's autocorrect. It's hard to test, but we'll have to test this over the next few weeks, see if it's truly resolved, but most people report a great experience. Apple CarPlay is working much better for most people. There's a few people that still have some glitches here and there, but the vast majority say that it's much better, and it seems like they've fixed it. As far as RAM management, it seems to be much better. Most people are reporting this even on older devices. So if maybe we opened podcasts, we go into music. Now we go back to YouTube. You'll see YouTube typically reloads on me for some reason, but the majority of apps, especially Apple apps, do not. But again, this depends on what you're doing, how long they're closed. But again, most people report a better experience here. In music, the animation issues when closing playlists or albums has been fixed, so whether or not you're maybe in a playlist, an album, or something else, you go in here, go back out, it just seems like it's a better experience overall for most people again. Also, most UI stutters and glitches have been fixed as well. Now, this is going to vary from device to device. It's going to be much faster, of course, on the 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max. ProMotion is nice and smooth. Things are working as you would expect. And again, most people report that it's super smooth, even if they're having a few issues here and there. Haptic feedback and keyboard sounds seem to be fixed for most as well. So again, if we go back into Notes, let me turn on the sound here. We'll ramp up the sound. Haptic feedback feels great, but this is keyboard haptic feedback, and it seems to work well. So it seems like it's working fine. I feel the haptic feedback. The sound is fine. It's not too loud, and it's working as you would expect. I typically keep this on silent, but the haptic feedback seems to be working well. Now, as far as bugs, some people have said that when you're in messages using the keyboard, it can freeze up. This is on older devices, and sometimes it's not working properly, adapting to light or dark mode. So if we go into messages, so within messages, you'll see it's working fine here. And again, on older devices, sometimes it's freezing a little bit and it could be processing in the background still. The wallpaper bug is still there. So if I swipe up, it seems to be far less severe. And this time it's going the reverse direction where it's more vibrant on the home screen and it's more dim on the lock screen. Typically it's the other way around. So it seems a little bit better, but it's still an issue. There's still some visual glitches, but again, on older devices, and Siri is unresponsive for some. The one bug in particular is if maybe we type to Siri and then maybe we type app for App Store, it doesn't show anything. It's not giving any suggestions. It could be due to indexing still, but it's not showing suggestions. If we tap open, it's not or enter, it's not opening the App Store. You have to type the full app. And this seems to be an issue. So this is something we're seeing on Siri in particular, but Siri is not the focus as they're working on Siri 2.0. So we'll have to see if this resolves itself in a few days. But again, that's typed to Siri specifically, or it's just not responsive. So again, maybe camera. You'll see camera, it should pop up, give us a suggestion. We should be able to open the app, and it seems to be a bug on all devices. Now, as far as how iOS 26.4 is on all devices, well, iPhone 16 and 17 devices, most people say performance is good, and the experience is much, much better. iPhone 13 to 15, so depending on what device you have, the main complaint is battery life. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but this again could be due to continued indexing in the background that could be taking a while. iPhone 12 devices have the most complaints, typically around overheating. Again, probably processing in the background. I wish Apple would give us more insight into this, but iPhone 12 devices say they have the most overheating and battery drain issues. Strangely though, iPhone 11s actually have zero complaints or very little complaints, saying battery life, experience overall is just pretty good. So it really varies from device to device, but it seems like the newer devices of course perform great, as well as the oldest device for some reason. When it comes to overall heat and thermals, again, I've noticed that it does seem to be a little bit warmer after a few days, probably processing in the background, not too hot. It's of course fine if it gets hot as it's typically processing, but that will use more power. But let's take a look with the thermal camera after we run benchmarks and see what we get here. As far as overall thermals, if we take a look at the hottest point on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, we're right around 38 or 38.5 degrees Celsius. That's a little bit warmer than the 35 to 36 degrees Celsius we typically see, but it means the processor's working and it's completely normal. It's not too hot to the touch or anything, and normal, but again, hopefully this comes down after a week or so as it finishes processing in the background. Now let's take a look at benchmarks. Benchmarks just completed, and it seems it's a little bit low compared to when I ran it the other day, again indicating it's working in the background, but well within the margin of error at 3,747 for single core, 9,709 for multi-core. If we take a look at the history, you'll see it was as high as 10,112, so a pretty good update overall, but again, it will take a few days for things to settle, and then it will probably improve even more. When it comes to overall battery life, let's first take a look at one of our viewers that sent in their battery life. And thanks to Abhishek for sending in their battery life. Thanks for the consistency, as this is on an iPhone 16e running iOS 26.4, set to 85% charge limit with 99% battery health. He had 4 hours and 39 minutes of screen on time, 1 hour and 30 minutes of screen off time, and used 48% of the battery. Compared to iOS 26.3.1a, he got 6 hours at 99% usage. So this actually seems like it's quite a bit better. Now, if we take a look at my battery life, we'll go to battery and battery health. I'm at 100% capacity with 48 cycles, and battery life for me has improved. If we take a look at yesterday's battery, I had 3 hours and 5 minutes of screen active time, 2 hours and 16 minutes of screen idle time, and used 61%. If we go back to the RC or the previous one, maybe on Sunday here or Saturday, I had 2 hours and 59 minutes of screen active time using 65%. So while it's very close, I'm actually using a little bit less power here. And today, 2 hours and 19 minutes using just 29% of the battery. So it seems like it's improving, but again, it will take a few days. If you're wondering if you should install iOS 26.4, if you're on any version of iOS 26, I recommend it. But again, it's going to take a few days for things to settle down, process in the background, and for battery life and performance to improve, especially on older devices. But based off what most people are saying, it's a big improvement. So I think this is finally Apple showing what they can do and get things right, but it will take a few more probably updates to iOS 27 to get it really right. And hopefully we don't have a ton of releases to get it right after that. When it comes to storage, let's go ahead and take a look. I have the RC on the left, the public release on the right. If we go into settings here, let's go to general and then iPhone storage. Give it a second to load and we'll scroll to the bottom and take a look. So iOS is actually taking up quite a bit less storage on this particular update with the public release with 7.53 gigabytes for Apple Intelligence and just 14.22 gigabytes for iOS, compared to 19.88 with the RC. So definitely an improvement there. As I've mentioned before, system data can go up and down. Anything under 20 gigabytes is fine. It can go up to 100 gigabytes and then come back down. There was an issue before where it was sort of stuck, but now it seems to be just fine. Now, as far as the overall experience and what you had to say, let's go ahead and take a look at some of your comments. Microflow says, iOS 26.4 on 15 Pro Max. The phone feels much more stable and responsive in every aspect except for battery life, which feels like it's sadly gotten worse. Sulakush, hopefully I'm saying that properly, most of the glitches I had previously are now gone with the 26.4 update, and the OS now feels a lot smoother and polished. Manic Sea Monkey said, I've not noticed really much of a difference in smoothness, but possibly a little bit more battery drain. Keyboard is possibly a bit more responsive using a 17 Pro Max. Aiden Middleton 4550 says, I'm on iOS 26.4 on an iPhone 17 Pro Max. Battery life is superb, performance is super fast, and it's very smooth. Loving the playlist playground feature a lot. By the best update of iOS 26, I would have definitely recommended everyone to update, even coming from iOS 18. Can't wait for iOS 27 and Siri 2.0. Hopefully it comes in iOS 26.5. Altelio says, on iOS 26.4 using an iPhone 17. Had to verify my age is based in the UK, but the actual update seems butter smooth. A few minor visual glitches still remain, and my iPhone feels a bit warmer than normal, but finally getting to what iOS 26 should have felt like on day one. KRSKA Dave said, no glitches and the battery is phenomenal now. Pretty good previously, but now phenomenal. iPhone 17 Pro. When it comes to iOS 18, it seems there's quite a few holdouts at this point. The number does keep decreasing as more people see the stability of iOS 26 improve, and based off the community poll, it seems only 5% are on iOS 18 or something else. You'll see that's based off of 17,000 votes. Of course, that number could be a little bit different, but it seems many people are still upgrading to iOS 26, especially 26.4 with 87%. So it seems more and more people are upgrading, but those staying with iOS 18 seem to really like it and just don't like liquid glass. But I think the majority of people actually do like liquid glass. When it comes to iOS 26, well, the overall experience seems to be quite good, as this is the best release so far. I'll give it an A at this point, where performance and keyboard issues are finally fixed and where they should be, but battery life is the last major hurdle, especially on older devices. But again, this could be due to ongoing indexing, which can take a week or more for some devices. So far, it's a safe update if you're on iPhone 14 and newer, but iPhone 12 owners should still sort of see what happens, as it's taking a very long time to index, and could be a little bit slower due to their slower processors. But overall, it's very stable, seems like a great update for the majority of people. So that's everything with iOS 26.4. It seems like it's a great update so far, and hopefully it's going well for you. But let me know about your iOS 26.4 experience in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.